The biggest lesson learned is the importance of supporting, focusing on, and strengthening that talent pool for facilities management. We have so many great, just bright facility managers out there with really diverse backgrounds, but we don't have that strength coming in the next gen. So investing the right amount of time to look at, okay, how are we going to start to promote this field? So the next, we'll say even 10, 15, looking out 20 years, do we have this support? And that starts with education. That starts with some of the industry organizations that these younger individuals or people that are even looking to do a career change into FM can find their way into it.
This is Facility Rockstars, the podcast that celebrates the unsung heroes of our daily lives, facility professionals. I'm your host, Jay Culbert. Join me as we honor these great leaders, sharing stories, insights, and expertise that empower us all to learn and grow together. Facility Rockstars is sponsored by Coludus, operating the way you operate in order to make your life easier. Welcome back to Facility Rockstars. I'm your host, Jay Culbert, and I'm thrilled to introduce you to today's guest. He's a dedicated marketing professional with over a decade of experience in sales, marketing, and business development. He's an entrepreneur and business owner. He's a motivational mentor and team builder. He's a certified FMP and Six Sigma Yellow Belt, owner of Gould Consulting, and he's currently Vice President of Sales and Marketing at TC Control Group. Please welcome Glenn Gould to the show. Welcome, Glenn.
Thank you so much. Always a pleasure. Always a good time with you.
Absolutely. I'm thrilled to have you here. We're thrilled to have you here. I think, we can kind of jump into the show, Glenn, but I want to tell everyone that I think you're going to bring a very unique flair to this, a very unique experience for the listener, because you were a field technician in the facilities management world, and you're outside of that world, and your integration from both sides is really, it's very interesting every time I talk to you about your perspective on these things.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's a field I love.
Cool. So, all right, man, let's just jump right into it. We'll roll.
Sounds good.
I'd love to ask you, and you've probably heard me ask this question before, but in your years, throughout your experiences, what has been your biggest lesson learned?
Yeah, that's a great one. So I think the biggest lesson learned is the importance of supporting, focusing on, and strengthening that talent pool for facilities management. We have so many great, just bright facility managers out there with really diverse backgrounds, but we don't have that strength coming in the next gen. So investing the right amount of time to look at, okay, how are we going to start to promote this field? So the next, we'll say even 10, 15, looking out 20 years, do we have this support? And that starts with education. That starts with some of the industry organizations that these younger individuals or people that are even looking to do a career change into FM can find their way into it. We got to have that next gen ready.
Great insight. Great insight. I think always looking for the future. And how do you do that, though? That's always the challenge, right?
It is.
Are people focused on that enough?
Right. In short, I would say no. We're not focused enough. And in my role back when I was the field engineer, I worked in healthcare facilities management for years, and I saw some promotion there, but not enough. So what I've started to do, and I know some other FMs have started to do as well, is get involved in, we'll say IFMA, International Facility Managers Association. It's a great Boston chapter. It's a global organization, so you're pulling from a huge talent pool, and it's great education. It's free education of all the new codes and all the new classes that places like Wentworth. I'm repping the Wentworth Pride today, of course. Got the shirt on.
Love it. Looking good.
And then BOMA, the Building Owner-Operator Management Association, also a fantastic group. And these are people that have joined, that care, that actually look for, what can we do to educate, support, and build out this field. So those are two really great.
I agree with you, Glenn. And I think a common question with both IFMA and BOMA, and again, both great organizations, is what's the real difference? And not to maybe draw a comparison, but what are the highlights to, if you could, each of them, and why would someone invest the time to join?
Yeah, of
One or
course.
the other or both?
Yeah, I mean, I'd recommend both. And here's the thing, many organizations will support you as an FM to join these. And it's really easy to go in to their website and look at, okay, how can this apply to my specific facility, whether you're in healthcare, you're in, GMP processing, whatever it is, and build that case and have the firm cover you for the cost of the organization joining. IFMA is great for the facility managers as a group getting together. It's much more that I've found, and of course, my opinion here, the facility managers getting together. Okay, so it's what's worked well, at the Carolina facility versus the Boston facility. Maybe they're in your same market space. BOMA, I found, was a bit more engineering focused, and I saw more vendors associated with it, which is great because you're getting a good insight to products advancement. Both of them do a good job with code education as well. But between the two of them, you'll get a great balance of product advancement and then also people advancement.
Great advice. Yeah. Good. I like that, product and people advancement. That's excellent. Are there any others, say any engineering firms, because I find I don't hear as much about that, and we work with primarily engineers every day. So anything you've seen out there?
NEHES, which is the New England Healthcare Engineer Society. And I got to give a shout out because that's actually how I started my career. I had just graduated Wentworth facilities management major. And I was like 2 weeks out of school and went to a NEHES conference and was just shaking hands. I didn't really know exactly what to say at that point. It was a lot of fun. I look back at it now. But fortunately, someone came up and they said, great, you graduated Wentworth. What are you looking for? How could this work out? And every single one of these three that I've mentioned, we've talked about here, has the new job or new to market entry position conferences. And that's how I got into it. And that's how I got into facilities management healthcare, was NEHES. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
You've clearly gained a lot. I mean, you're very much into your own growth, and I find you to have a very call it a growth mindset, right? And you look at always advancing not just yourself but all of those around you, and it's a unique thing, perspective and view to have. Many people only look at their own personal development. You're looking at the more global view of things, or at least that's been my experience with you, Glenn.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. I love that you brought up the organizations, and I want to stay on that just for a few more minutes or a minute or so, because every time I'll talk to someone who isn't in it, they're like, yeah, I talk to everybody in the same four walls every day. Say whether it's an aerospace company or a pharma company, and if you don't get out there and branch out into those organizations, you'll lose those learning opportunities and those networking opportunities. So true. And I think you've taken advantage of that for several years now, clearly, since you graduated Wentworth.
Yeah. And just building on that, I think a huge point for the FMs listening here, or anyone else that's in, a related industry, these organizations, they're as good and as useful as you want them to be. And something I'd recommend to hold on to is two major points. The first of which here is, if you're seeing the same people at the same meetings, first of all, can relate to that, been there, experienced it, no doubt about it. Chances are organizations like IFMA, for example, they have chapters throughout the US, but actually global, right? International Facility Managers Association. Connect with someone that's in Texas, or connect with someone that's in, the British Isles. You're going to make up, a group of friends and a group of, for the most part, like-minded individuals where you can ping this information off. What's the latest and greatest? What should we be focusing on? And you'll have fun. You'll make friends for the next time you go to London.
Awesome.
And then that second point really is just, again, creating a culture of accountability in your workplace. It's tough to have all these, hear about these organizations or these steps that you can take to strengthen overall. How are you really going to do it? Take a minute, think about someone else in your organization that is close to you, or is really good with organization and accountability, and say, hey, getting into this, would you like to get into this with me? there's a meetup, this weekend or this Tuesday after work in town. And that way you just get glued to it a bit better. And once you get into the role of it, it'll unfold fine. But create that culture of accountability to jump into it and stick to it.
So you're saying from the leadership of the company, create that culture of accountability, or are you talking about your own?
Oh, very good point. Actually, I think you opened up something I wasn't even thinking about there, which is great. I mean, look, it's whether or not you're leading an organization, or if you're someone like me when you got out of school and you're just thinking about how can I be a bit better. Drive up accountability, drive down accountability. The right people will appreciate that.
Excellent. Great stuff.
Yeah.
We talked about challenges too, Glenn. And I think I don't remember what exactly we discussed, but it was something, there was a bridge or a lack of a bridge there. Right?
Definitely.
Do you want to speak to that?
I do. This is one you can definitely get me fired up on because I love it. And it's technology. We have a huge break here right now with technology and then the use of the systems from the end user perspective, which would be the facility managers. So let's break this down. So there's the personnel aspect. I remember when I got out of school, my first facilities job was at Spalding Health in Boston. And I'd come out and I was so ready to show off my CMMS skills. I had like all the work order knowledge of the computer systems that was the latest and greatest. And I set up this brief presentation with the chief engineer and the facility manager. Here's what I hope to do over the next year. And I presented upon, I forget the exact name of the software it was at the time, but it was new and great. And all of them were like, yeah, what is this? What are you talking about? You're gonna track. We don't want it on our phones. We don't want to see work orders on our phones. We're not willing to. And of course, I just went through like 2 years of this is the future. This is what you need to know. So I met this incredible gap of I'm so excited about technology, and then the leaders saying, yeah, we don't know it. It's expensive, and we don't think it's going to be worth it. So I think it's wicked important for leaders right now who have been in the industry for some time to push pause, read up on some of these advancements that we've had specific to work order tracking, AI preventative maintenance programs. Of course, we all drowned in the AI today, but there really is some interesting stuff we got to learn about and understand that these people you're going to be hiring that we're working to promote, they're going to know about this. So you need to as well. It'll make everyone's job easier. And then,
so when you, if I could,
Glenn,
when you were met with, I'm not going to call it resistance, but maybe a lack of knowledge or how to adopt what you were bringing to the table, how like you weren't able to do that because they wouldn't adopt it. Right. So what would you recommend to the leadership teams? How would they go about educating themselves?
Of course. So going to the leadership teams, I think you take what is the most beneficial aspect that software or tool promises to deliver. And, over a couple of weeks, over a couple of months, pay attention to how that might benefit your or their everyday operation. And you can make examples of it. It'll be real to them at that point. So I think it's worth investing that time.
Yep.
But also, again, we're tying back to industry. There's something I came up with within Gould Consulting. It's called the Industry Involvement Initiative. And much like engineers or facility managers that need to get credits to maintain their licensing, the FMs should do the exact same thing in regard to how many conferences are you going to a year? Are they the right conferences? Are they just for golf? Some of them should be. Totally for that. Or are we really learning about the future of FM and the technology that's going to support us? You got to make that choice yourself. And be a part of that change. And here's my simple takeaway. You don't need to take it all in at once. Focus on one thing that might be a pain point for you. Invest a little bit of time in it, one step at a time. And I think you'll see the value in it.
Love it. I want to jump back to something you said. You said industry and involvement initiative. Is that what you
That's
said?
right.
And Gould
Yep.
Consulting. Please touch on that. We haven't talked about your own company, Gould Consulting. What exactly? I get the gist of the industry involvement initiative, but how could people listening today maybe apply that concept in their world, or how could they
Yeah.
develop something, or do they need to call Glenn?
No, exactly. No, I think at the biggest focus, I'll call it, for someone to succeed in that realm is making sure that they understand what goals they have at hand. And if they don't, create them, of course.
Mm-hmm.
But understand your goals, create a plan, and stick to the plan. Your plan should involve more than you. It should involve a support system. Because if it's up to us, we've talked about this a little bit a few minutes ago,
Sure.
we get distracted, we get bogged
Mm-hmm.
down. Use the people around you that you trust that have maybe different skill sets than you. They're in your industry, they might work with you, or maybe they're part of an organization, someone that's on
Mm-hmm.
LinkedIn you've met,
Mm-hmm.
and create that friendship and accountability. So many of my answers are going to tie back to that exact same thing because it's a network, it's a team that gets something done. It's rarely one person that actually executes on a true successful plan.
So true. Actually, that came up in last week's podcast. A gentleman, Mike Rich at Cerevel Therapeutics, he spoke
Mm,
about that involving even security at the front door and the readiness factors of how you're all the same team in terms of the
right.
communication. So that ties right together there, Glenn.
Absolutely.
Um, I'm trying to think of like pain points that have come in. Like you've mentioned to me,
Mm,
and when we talk, you have a lot of friends who are FMs,
mhm.
customers too. Same with me. How this all ties back, and I think it actually ties back directly because CMMS comes up all the time. Some
Yeah.
guys will say, "Don't give me a drive by on the hallway. Put it in the system as a ticket, right? So I don't have
Yep.
to remember it."
Classic.
Things like right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And how could they possibly remember everything? So I think this just all relates. Unless there's anything more you'd like to add to that.
I think that the challenge focus as well. I'd like to hit on that open protocol versus closed protocol that we face in technology today.
100%. Please do.
So open protocol versus closed protocol. I think a lot of the listeners probably know, but I'll hit it real quick. It's essentially the right, if it's open protocol as
Mm-hmm.
an end user or owner or subscriber to a product or software, you can go in and edit, work on, adjust. It's yours to tailor. Okay. If it's the closed system, often it's the manufacturer or the factory that exclusively holds the right to alter, edit, adjust that product or software.
Mm-hmm.
And our world today is focused so much on subscriptions. We think about our subscribing on the television with different streaming services. We think about our groceries on a reoccurring delivery.
Mm-hmm.
Everything it touches. It's great to a point, but we got to keep our eyes on what exact technology works for you in your facility. And I'll use Johnson Controls for system or Siemens for an example. Any of these big players. TC Controls, the company that I'm the vice president at for sales and marketing, we exclusively focus on open protocol, which I think illuminates two really big points. A company that offers open protocol has a lot of confidence in their ability to deliver the product, the quality, it's done correctly, very important, and understands how to support the customer so that they grow. It's not just it works for us when it works for us type of deal because it's closed loop. I'm going to get a lot of
Mm-hmm.
slack from all of my closed loop friends here. Close protocol. But really ask that question when you're signing up for your new automation control system like TC. We do everything automation, building automation, controls automation for critical systems. And we always illuminate that when we talk to a customer, whether it's indoor agriculture or it's a pharmaceutical company. We let them know this is open protocol. We know you're used to
Mm-hmm.
subscription these days, but this software, this product is for you. We're confident we'll do it right. And even if something didn't go right and you'd like to try someone else out, you can. It's in your hands. So ask that question, closed
Mm-hmm.
versus open protocol. I'm big about
Outstanding.
that one.
How would an FM have control over that? Like, how would you
Sure.
broach that? Right? Can you
Yeah.
talk to that?
Definitely. So some of the tough parts, I remember I worked at UMass Medical as well in facilities, and the system that we had at the time was closed. And the FM, I believe, that came right into the role with a closed loop system, closed protocol system. So they couldn't do anything at that time wait until a subscription had expired on their automation system. You could cut a contract early. Obviously, it comes with dollar bills. It's probably not worth it, depending on the length of it. But number one is being aware of it and asking the right questions, and knowing that just about every single product or software offered today has that option. It's just usually not the first option that you're made aware of. So always dive in and ask that.
Understood.
Yeah.
Awesome. Good advice, Glenn. What other topics should we expand on with your, I know, you and when we talk, we don't script much, right? We
No, we
like
don't.
to kind of free flow, but I think it always lands in the right place.
Yeah, absolutely. I would, again, you hear me talk about the investment of the youth and the education. I'd like to hit on technical education there.
Please do.
The world of facilities management, engineering, architecture, design. Huge way that we can give back is taking the time to old systems we might have, old, I'm even going to say textbooks, if I may, this day and age. Some of them are still irrelevant, okay? But O&Ms, the operation and maintenance manuals, providing those when they're done for, maybe you've got a new air handling unit, maybe you've got a new chiller, get those over to the tech school. They use them. It's unbelievable. I'm working right now with a local tech school who is training general trades, which potentially could be the world of facilities management. And they use it. So they have a old train unit or a McQuaid unit or whatever it might be. And they can go through and troubleshoot and experience. And otherwise, some of this hardware, the actual tangible equipment, they wouldn't get otherwise. Fan coils, HAF or inline fans, huge investment. So I think as a leader in facilities management, something that you can do as a listener is consider your local technical education, whatever school that is. Do what you can to give back. It pays dividends for all of us, and technical education doesn't get enough light, and I think it should.
That's awesome. Thank you, Glenn. I've heard a lot of stories, as you have, about young people who have come out of those schools too. You obviously were one of them, and it's great. Like how can we continuously, a lot of our friends and customers do this, help them to learn and grow, because that's right back to your first point of the next generation. How do we keep fostering that, growing that, keeping them learning all the time while we are
right.
So,
100%.
Any challenges you're seeing out there that we haven't touched on? Like, we've both been working in the FM world with customers for a long time, and you've been one.
Yep.
The challenges you're seeing out there, Glenn?
Yeah, I think we still definitely see the world of facilities management. When you're a facilities manager or you work in capital planning department, often they're intermingling a lot, is the justification of expenditures, capital projects. Especially now, there's still the validity or excuse or a mix of everything of we can't spend now. How do we make it work? And I feel like everything in facilities management gets thrown at you. You might get taking care of a rooftop unit, then you have a challenge with the security at the front gate. Turns out that your vendor didn't show up this morning. You are tossed all over the place. So one way you can really alleviate some of those challenges and the stress is building your internal relationships with your team. And I'm going to focus on finance and capital planning there. If you haven't had your weekly connection with your capital planning or your finance department at your organization, get it going. Start planning it. Make sure that you have a routine connection with those people. So when you do need to have that ask for this, a switch a vendor, they're going to be a little bit more expensive, or you want to switch to a open protocol system, right? Because it's going to save you money and time. You're going to have that relationship, and you have always focus on this. You have internal customers and you have external customers. your
100%.
external customers that you work with, maybe they're your vendors, people you're buying from or they're buying from you. And then your internals is Tony or Cindy down the hall that's approving your budget each year.
Mhm.
Invest in it. Invest. Even if it's tough for you, it's going to make your job easier a few months down the road.
That's very sound advice. Very sound advice, because we live it day to day, every day. And
man.
so just to kind of let me recap what you said, because I love that you're investing your time, your energy, and your focus into internal relationships in the team, specifically finance and capital planning teams.
Yeah.
Have to be aligned with what they're able to do and when they can do it.
Right. Smoother operating equipment and people means a smoother day for you. And if that's blocked by the dollar bills, we have all been there, and it creates headaches.
Gems, man, gems. Is there anything that, because we've been learning from you, and of course we want to learn more about you, any other gems you'd like to share, or any other info before I kind of switch gears and we shine the light on you, Glenn?
Oh, I think this is great. I'm excited about this. You got me fired up now. I actually have been thinking about what I need to do tomorrow at the office when I'm in the office with all of my internal customers. Actually, I have a few outstanding receipts I haven't delivered. Not good. But no, feel free. Take it away.
Cool, man. All right. So you have a very interesting outside of work. You have so many interesting things that you do. I'd like to talk about it, but I do want to start by saying, all right, let's go and call it the time machine, the Wayback Machine. And what advice would Glenn Gould today give to the 20-year-old Glenn Gould? What would that be?
Oof. All right. I'll steer away from all of the cars and motorcycles and watches that I would have bought back in the day and respond professionally.
I know what you like.
No, I would say, boom, bottom line, take more risks. Take risks.
Mm-hmm.
The discovery phase that comes with success and failure always surrounds your initial decision-making process and how you come up with it. And I look back at Wentworth, facilities management, I absolutely love it, and all the other schools that are promoting SM. But I had this time where I thought to myself, am I just going to, till I'm 80 years old, be X? Am I going to work as an architect? Am I going to work as a facility manager? Am I going to work as, a master electrician? All these things I considered that are all intertwined with that profession. And of course, it was daunting at that point. And let's not forget, it doesn't matter if you're 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 80 years old. You always have what ifs, and you always have options. There's this, I think it's a quote from Led Zeppelin, actually, if I may.
Oh, bring it.
I think it's like, in the long run, there's still time to change the road you're on. There are two paths you can go by, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's maybe it's Stairway to Heaven. But anyways,
Stairway to Heaven.
It is so true that you're doing this right now. Maybe there's something that you really enjoy, or you're going to break out and you're going to become. And if you got that energy and you got that thought that keeps on chirping in your head, chase it, go for it. And it took me a few years, but I did. And I'll give you a very brief example of, I dearly loved facilities. That's why I went to school for it. I really enjoyed it. The mechanical aspect, the problem and solution aspect, the kind of the hectic aspect of it. But we had a rep visiting us, a supply house visiting us one day. And this woman was like, hey, this is really great. Do you want to try exploring something maybe in sales? It's like, no, I'm good. I like it a lot. And I ignored it. I ignored it. Like 2 years later, she came back. She's like, all right, let's give sales a shot for you. You got the mechanical world, you got the facilities world, give it a go. And I did, and broke into this career of selling. I sold chillers, custom air handling units, all the kind of mechanical infrastructure for years, and found this way into a role that I'm in now, where I'm leading and growing a group of people that focus on everything mechanical, everything facilities. And I I can say confidently I'm happy in what I do, and I love it.
Good for you, man. Good for you.
So take some risks.
Yeah, and you said something to me a handful of weeks ago, maybe, but it's something around so many different possibilities can spin off of one decision. Does that tie
That's
into
it.
this too?
You nailed it. You nailed
Right.
it.
Well, I know you nailed it when you said it. I think I'm repeating what you said, but yeah, it's good stuff.
Yeah,
I love
absolutely.
that you gave us a Led Zeppelin quote. Now, if we can get the rights, we'll make that the trailer for the end of the show.
Sweet. I'm into it. Nice.
You share now. You've been. I think I'd love you to share, if you could, your overseas experience, because I think there was something you came back to realizing about yourself when you were in. Well, I'll let you tell it. Right.
Yeah, sure.
Recently.
Yeah. It was quite recent. So this was, looking back, just about 3 years ago. I was on a job site, walking down the hallway with an engineer, facilities guy, and my electrician. And my wife kept on calling me. It's like nonstop. And after the third call, you're like, okay, I have to pick this up. Something's going on, right? So excuse me, everyone. I step aside. It's my wife. She goes, "Hey, Glenn, you ready to move to Singapore?" Like, what? What are you talking about?
You don't get that call every day.
We don't get. I was like, what are you talking about? So you don't get that call every day. And it turns out that my wife was tapped on the shoulder to run a certain division for APAC in our company, and we ended up moving to Singapore. And we lived in Singapore for 2 years. And I worked with TC Controls. I owe a lot to them. Just an incredible group of people, just genuinely good people who really love what they do. Explained it to them, and they said, "Look, fine, maintain contact, still work for us. When you get back, we're going to still work together." And I said, "Absolutely, of course, this works out great." And I started Gould Consulting while I was there as well, to assist TC Controls in their some of their expansion into the international market. Worked with some of their partners that they already worked with, and really did a lot of that facilities, controlled environment agriculture, which we focus on to TC Controls, critical environmental systems, and bloomed and had customers in Japan, South Korea, Vietnam, Thailand, Australia. And I'll tell you what, made a lot of really great friends in the mechanical industry. And this is, I got to take this right to the watches. We can talk about
I was hoping you
facilities
would.
all day. When I was there, of course, I focused a lot on TC Controls, the CEA, Gould Consulting, but I discovered one of my previous loves, which is essentially everything mechanical, but this focused on horology. And I went back to school for horology. Horology is the study of time, so watchmaking. And for those of you who love cars and machinery and all things mechanical, watches is, I'm telling you, it's just something you haven't found yet.
And you said you went back to school for that. Did I hear you right?
That's right. That's right.
That's impressive. From Singapore? When you got back here? When?
In Singapore. Yep. In Singapore. So I was studying alongside with people who are incredibly accomplished that I was thrilled to be sitting next to. And it really was, I mean, you're working on a planetary gear system, wound up springs and screws that you truly cannot see without a microscope, but you have a machine on your wrist. I mean, it's one of the coolest things I can imagine. And it's a timepiece. So in every sense, I look at, I focus now on 1880 to 1950 year production. So you look at things from,
why that time period?
It has the most interesting points of innovation, and they used products and techniques that they had to come up with from absolute scratch, and they had to make machinery that I wish I could tell you the ingenuity and the brilliance that some of these people had to come up with to machine a screw or to fine tune and wound a spring that had to be that way. And it was true precision.
Sure.
On things that, fit on your wrist to hold plus or minus 3 seconds an entire year. That's amazing for something to
Yes, it
happen
is.
during that time. So I'll geek out on it way too long and eat up your podcast. But
No, we're good.
That's my specialty. I mean, I focus on it now in addition to cars, anything I can tinker on, mechanical and the outdoors. I'm into.
That's awesome. I love it. And tractors. Tractors are part of your life, right?
I'm looking out my back
mechanical.
window right now and I can kind of see it through the trees. It's just calling my name. Yes. Planting, we're working on an orchard, very small orchard right now. I got a John Deere 2025R with the 3-cylinder Yanmar diesel, just a bulletproof machine. And
that's a solid machine right there.
Solid. I have a lot of fun.
I bet you do. I would like to tie what you just said about watches and mechanical back to, how you're always adding value to the facilities management world. And that's, again, why I wanted us to talk on this particular podcast about this, because what you offer to that world, whether it's from talking their language of CMMS to, simple organization or re-educating yourself, you're doing it yourself. You're living that. And I think it's nice to hear the full circle, Glenn. And I want to give a lot of credit actually to your company, TC Controls. I remember talking with your owner when you were leaving for Singapore, and I had the reaction of, wow, what a great agreement, trust, culture, company, great people, both you and them, to go off and do that, come back, and now you're both flourishing again. So it's fantastic.
No, thanks for bringing that up. I should probably even tout it more than I do. It's just such a great group of people, and they love what they do. And what's better than that? Automation systems and critical environments gets everybody jazzed. Good group of people.
So if people want to learn more from you, and thank you very much, Glenn, for staying here with us and sharing with us. If they want to learn more from you, how do people get in touch? What would you recommend?
Absolutely. Yeah, just jump on LinkedIn. Glenn Gould, Gould, to be confused with the pianist, which everybody is apparently. But just reach out on LinkedIn, and I'd be more than happy to talk about FM organizations, critical automation controls, or watches and tractors. Of course.
Awesome. Glenn, thank you very much for spending the time investing it with us. And I really appreciate it, man.
You got a great thing going here. Keep it up. I love the investment. It's always a pleasure.
Thanks, man. Talk soon.
It's a wrap. Another episode of Facility Rockstars is in the books. Facility Rockstars is sponsored by Colutus, operating the way you operate in order to make your life easier. Until next time, facilitate and rock on.